Week 6, Lance, we're getting there.
Absolutely. Past the halfway point. Everybody should be on the verge of becoming an SBA servicing expert.
Good. We're certainly in the dog days of summer here, Southern California, but hopefully that'll be it for us. Let's go to the polls. How many SBA loans does your bank have in liquidation status? Nada? We have a couple. We have a lot.
Yeah, I think, the purpose of this is just to find out, what kind of portfolios our lenders have. And please don't be embarrassed if you have loans in liquidation status. Understanding good servicing, understanding how to take care of a loan when it's in liquidation is one of the cornerstones to a good SBA lending program. So if you're actually doing some SBA lending, you're going to eventually have some in liquidation.
And remember, the admonition that I said is, if you got anything in liquidation status for 3 years, wrap it up, clean it up, charge it off, get rid of it. SBA is going to nail you on your reviews on that. Number 2, how soon do you complete your site visits on a payment default SBA loan that has been put into liquidation? I don't like the way we phrased that. Anyway, so the question.
That's probably my fault.
The question is, how often? What's the question, Lance? I don't even know. Go ahead.
Well, the question is, when do you do your site visit after a loan goes in liquidation?
There you go. Okay. Payment default. I see where you're going on that. So we go immediately after.
And the answer I want to.
Go ahead.
The answer, Bob, that I don't want to see on this one is we do not complete a site visit at this time. If you look at the SOP 5057, there's a lot of confusion by participant banks. Now, site visits, there's only 2 times in an SBA loan's life where SBA requires a site visit, during the origination phase and when it goes into liquidation. Now, a lot of prudent lenders will do site visits throughout the life of the loan. And Bob, all of the answers are good answers. The requirement on a payment default loan is within 60 days. So our people are all on point.
And no one said we don't bother with no stinking site visits. So very good, Lance. You're doing your job. Have you ever had an SBA loan in liquidation that you developed a written workout plan for? What are you trying to get here?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out if we have people that have actually considered, a workout plan. SBA and the SOP certainly encourages banks to find ways for the small business borrower to pay back the loan. When you put a loan in liquidation, the point I'm trying to make is it doesn't always lead to a foreclosure or a repossession or an enforced collection. Sometimes it leads to a workout plan. And our people are great. A number of our folks did, in fact, have loans in liquidation with a workout plan.
Good. What do you think is the most common consideration provided by SBA borrowers in return for a workout plan agreement? I like this question.
Well, and Bob, all of these are acceptable forms of consideration, but I was just curious. I know which one, in my experience, Bob, is very seldom a common consideration for a workout agreement, but I'm just curious. The other 4 are almost always a part of my workout agreement consideration from the borrower. The one that I hardly ever get, Bob, is additional collateral.
And yes, the audience is correct with the instructor, I would assume.
Well, and the one thing I want to encourage our participant banks, you want to get as many of these as possible, and I know you know that, but if you could get all 5, that would be outstanding, but you want to get as many of these areas of consideration as possible in return for providing a workout plan.
Lance, the question has come up, what can we charge for these? Obviously, it costs us money, whether we have our attorney do it or we do it, or can we charge the borrower for a workout plan?
Bob, I suppose that you could, but you've got a borrower that's in distress, and I've never charged a borrower for the workout plan agreement, and part of it's because it would be considered as part of care and preservation expenses, and if it does move to a purchase demand, you're going to be able to include that in the care and preservation expenses that you present to SBA.
Okay, so is it legitimate to have the bank attorney, the credit union attorney, to put it together and charge $500?
Bob, every workout plan I've ever worked on has been penned by an attorney.
Okay.
I think it's important to have a legally enforceable workout plan.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Good. So what did we talk about this week?
We started talking about putting loans into liquidation, and certainly in servicing, handling a loan once it goes into liquidation is very important to avoid potential repairs of the SBA guarantee. And doing the site visit on time and understanding how to implement a workout plan, Bob. A lot of SBA lenders probably, do bits and pieces of a workout plan, but don't ever actually do the written workout plan agreement. I will assure you, if the loan goes into default, it's better to have the written workout plan agreement and do it according to the SOP, which is what we talked about this week, than to have just done a servicing action and left it in liquidation.
We've talked about this before, Lance. I mean, what is the deciding segment, well, I don't know the word I want to use, deciding factor to say, okay, we're going to go to a workout plan, or we're going to kill it and we're going to liquidate it?
Bob,
what's your thought
there
process
are
on that?
a number of things, Bob. You really want a business that has cash flow. And, maybe you've got a business that don't have enough cash flow to meet the current debt payment requirements, but they have enough cash flow to meet payments in a restructured format. You may reamortize the loan, extend the maturity, defer some payments, but you certainly want to review the financial statements and make sure they have the ability to succeed with the workout plan. The other thing is you want a cooperative borrower. If you have a borrower who's walking in and still full of steam and telling you how things are going to go and not willing to listen to your sage advice on the workout plan, you may want to walk away from it. So a cooperative borrower and financial statements that show once you make the changes that you're going to make in the workout plan that they actually can succeed, because that's what's most important.
Lance, in talking to Main Street, to business owners, my experience has been they prolong the agony too long. They're not facing reality. They're making poor decisions. They're getting themselves in trouble with the IRS. They're not making payroll taxes. And they prolong the business way longer than it should. Do you feel lenders do the same thing?
In some circumstances, and that's why in SBA's infinite wisdom, they actually put a time frame on workout plans. They're in the SOP 5057. It actually talks about from the initial meeting discussing a workout plan to the time of implementation should be no more than 60 days.
I love that, yeah.
And SBA should do that on more areas of servicing. They should give the bank direction. But in the workout plan area, you've got to go from initial discussion to implementation within 60 days, and it clearly states that if you can't accomplish that, you need to go to enforced collection.
Okay. Very good. I'm not going to read this.
Well, I can
I'm
kind
not
of
even going to try. Go ahead. Tell me what's going on here.
I can kind of summarize
Please.
it. We've got someone that has a loan that's in liquidation, and it was sold on the secondary market. It is well secured, which, what a great place to be in. And the question was, should the bank buy it back or should the SBA buy it back?
Okay.
And I want to talk a little bit about that. When a loan goes into liquidation and the loan was sold in the secondary market, it's required that the loan be bought back from the investor. And the bank has one of two, well, my fingers, Bob. The bank has one of two options. They can either submit a request to SBA for SBA to buy it back, which that's what happens probably 98.5% of the time, or the bank can buy it back themselves. I I can think of only a few circumstances, and there's a follow-up to this question, and this is obviously a seasoned SBA servicing officer, because the follow-up question helps even further clarify this. In a majority of cases, Bob, I'm going to say just have the SBA buy it back. Essentially what you're doing is you're trading the investor for the SBA, and the SBA becomes the investor. There is an additional requirement. If the bank buys it back, they don't have to do the purchase demand kit. Essentially, if you let the SBA buy it back, you have two PDKs that have to be completed. One at the beginning of the process, one at the end of the process. For me, that's not such a big deal because I've done PDKs for 20 years. But as we go to the follow-up part of this question, you'll kind of see this loan is fully collateralized, and the banker believes the net recoverable value exceeds the loan balance. So let's move to the next part of the question.
While we're doing that, we're waiting for Joseph to do that. Is there a negative impact on your parish reviews if you have SBA buy it back from the secondary market? Does SBA care in your rankings?
I've looked real closely at the parish score, and it really doesn't measure who buys it back. So there's no negative impact on the bank's parish score if SBA buys it back. But this banker, and I hope you're on the call because I was impressed with the series of questions indicates, because my first response was, no, let SBA buy it back. I mean, that is the norm. If you had 100 loans sold in the secondary market, probably 98 of them would be SBA buys it back and the bank don't. But this banker points out, hey, we'd have to submit that pre-purchase purchase demand kit, so wouldn't it be better for the bank to buy it back and avoid that? And absolutely, it's less work. If the bank is inclined to go ahead and purchase it, you don't have to do the pre-purchase purchase demand kit. And quite honestly, I think there was another follow-up, and I don't know if we have this, but the question's asked, if we go through liquidation and the proceed, there we go, if we go through liquidation and the collateral proceeds pays the loan off, do we have to do a PDK? And the answer is no. If the proceeds from the liquidation fully pays the loan off, it's going to be a paid in full loan, and you're done.
That's right. Very good. Good. Great. Excellent analysis, Lance. What's up for week 7? What? We have 2 weeks left, Lance? Is that the deal?
2 weeks. The litigation plan, and I want everybody to really dig in and pay close attention to this and think about questions that you might have, because many banks mess up litigation plans. They forget that they need them. And the reason for that, Bob, is most normal litigation plans with expenses less than $10,000 do not require SBA's approval. So what do participant banks do? They just don't do one. My take is if you have litigation, and the SOP 5057 states this, now it doesn't say it's a requirement, but if you have litigation on an SBA loan, you need a litigation plan. If the litigation is contested, it's going to have to be approved by SBA, or if it's more than $10,000 in expense, it's going to have to be approved by SBA. And the mistake, Bob, that so many banks make is they'll have litigation, they'll say, it's only going to be $5,000. They wake up and their litigation expenses are setting at $9,500. Then they start scrambling to put a litigation plan together, and an invoice comes in for $1,000. Guess what? You're dead. The $10,500 are no longer recoverable if you don't get it approved before you hit 10. My take on this is if you think you're going to be anywhere close to $10,000, which most foreclosure actions will be, go ahead and prepare one with a $10,000 budget, submit it, get it approved. If you come in at 6, great. But if you do come in at 10 or higher, you've got an approved plan.
How many litigation plans and legal expenses are turned down?
I've never had one turned down, Bob. The only thing I've ever had is a little jawing back and forth about the rate the attorneys in South Florida charge, and I was able to circumvent that by providing 4 different attorneys all charging the same fee. The only feedback I've ever gotten other than just an approval, there are a couple, and California, Bob, your backyard may be one of those. If your attorneys are charging $500-600 an hour, which some do,
yeah,
you may have to explain that. But as a whole, I've probably done 100 litigation plans, Bob. I've only had 2 where they even asked questions. They were always approved.
So the other thing is just get it done, send it in, get it approved, and don't worry about it.
And the other takeaway is don't get hung up on the budget. If you think it's going to be close, have your attorney give you a $10,000 budget, or don't have your attorney do it, because that's like a license to spend money.
Yeah. I already know where that's going to go.
Take your attorney's budget and put a contingency amount in there. Get it up to $10,000, send it into SBA and get it approved, and protect yourself, because you want, guys, when you submit your purchase demand kit and your care and preservation expenses, those CPC expenses, which include litigation expenses, can come off the top. They're the first thing that comes out of recovery proceeds while determining what amount that SBA is going to pay the guarantee on. So make sure and get it approved. We talk about offers and compromise. Offers and compromise, I think it's hard for me to believe an SBA servicing officer's never been asked to compromise principal balance on an SBA loan, so it's important to understand how to deal with offers and compromise. And I really, by probably 2010, 11, and 12, saw a ton of these. It's kind of slowed down, but I'm still seeing them. So it's important to understand how to navigate an offer and compromise.
Good. Very good. Well, with that, do we have any questions, Joseph? We're clear. Everyone, enjoy the weekend. Lance, thank you very much. We'll talk to you next Friday. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. See you next Friday.